Well, hey, good morning, everybody. This is Dave once again coming to you from the office. Another talking head video. It's Monday morning. It's about 8:30 here in Wyoming. This is episode 2 or part 2 of kind of my weight loss wisdom series. So yesterday, episode 1, we talked about sort of the underlying assumptions and all that. So the science that I believe my understanding is to manage insulin levels, to manage blood sugar levels, and then how to do that. So episode 2 is sort of the beginning of my journey. So we got rewinding all the way back to the end of May, Memorial Day, and then the first couple of weeks of June. And the weight loss journey, in my opinion, at least for me, had to begin with the decision. And, the decision to do something different with my life physically and then really establish the why. Why am I doing this? And now I'm almost 6 months into the journey, and I have to tell you the why. The why are we doing this is incredibly important. I got a comment from episode 1 that says, you need to talk about the head trip. You need to talk about the mental impact or the mental component of this journey. And so that's sort of what this episode 2 is about, is my why in my headspace. Because my advice to you is don't dabble in this. Because that's usually what ends up. One of the things I hear a lot when I talk about health issues with people is, well, I've tried everything. In fact, even my wife goes down this road of, I've tried everything. And that usually means that we've tried something for a few days or a week or 2 weeks. We sort of tried it, but didn't really try it. We tried it on some days and not other days. And that is just a recipe for not being successful in this kind of journey. So my most fervent advice is really decide if you're going to do this or not, and give it months, not a few days or a few weeks. And then the other one is, why are you doing it? And everyone has to have their own why. You can't use mine. You can't use your best friends. You can't use your spouses. The why has to come from inside of you, because it has to sustain you through tough days, tough hours, tough situations. Because there are days. I'm like I said, I'm almost 6 months into it, and I still have a day now and then that I don't feel like doing it, and I either fall off the plan for a day, or I am able to kind of fight through with my why, and I don't fail for the day. But that's what I want to talk to you a little bit now, is getting your head right, and that is really the development of the why. So I want to talk to you about my why. Why did I start this journey? See, why has to be strong enough, because what we're trying to do is break bad habits and establish new habits. And, the general rule is 15 days to break an old habit, 15 days to start a new habit, 15 consecutive, consistent days. And it's just like a rocket launch. The first part is the hardest. Almost all the energy expending to get a piece into orbit is all in the first few minutes. And that's kind of what we're doing here. So the first few days, first week, first 2 weeks is usually the hardest part. And so the why has to be strong enough to get us out of bad habits, because we don't even know we have them sometimes. Sometimes habits, particularly around eating and drinking, is that mindless following of old bad habits. So we have to be strong enough to break through that. And then the other thing I want to say is, we're not looking for perfection. We're looking for small, consistently applied, consistent changes from bad habits to good habits. So that means every day, every few days, every week, every few weeks, you add another change. And then get good with that change, and then start the next one. but we're not looking for perfection. You're going to eat something maybe wasn't on your plan. You're going to have a meal with somebody that didn't really map to your plan, and that's okay. You just don't want to do that very often, because then you completely destroy your results. You can destroy a week's worth of work with 1 or 2 really bad days, and that's what you want to avoid, because that's what generates this, well, I've tried everything and nothing works for me. And the key is, when we do fall off, when you have a bad meal or a bad day, you just go right back. You don't throw everything out with one bad day. You go, that was a bad day. I'm back on it tonight. I'm back on it this morning. And we have to have the strength of why to get ourselves back on track when we do slip, because it's going to happen. All right, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about my why. And I'm 61 years old, and the bottom line is I don't want to die too soon. I don't want to die early. People say, well, your day's your day, but I believe you can accelerate your day through bad decisions, bad eating, bad drinking habits. And so, I want to focus on longevity, living longer, living healthier. I don't want to just survive these next 20, 30 years. I'd like to thrive through them. I'd like to be a healthy 65. I'd like to be a vibrant 70. I'd like to be a functioning 75-year-old. I'd like to be a fully functional 80-year-old. And that required me to make changes and sustain the changes past this video, past this week, past this month, past this year end. So, that's kind of the first plank in my why, is I would like to be a healthy, long-living individual, and I was not on that track until 6 months ago. The second one for me is I had kids older in life. I was 37 and 39 when my 2 kids were born. They're currently 22 and 24 years old. I would like to I'd like to have a long relationship with my adult kids, and if they choose to get married and have kids, I'd like to be at least around for part of those kids' lives. Now, if my kids don't have kids for 10 more years, I'm already 71 at that point upon my grandkids' birth. So anyway, that's sort of the second plank, is I want to be around and be vibrant and healthy and not a burden, but actually be a positive. I want to be able to go skiing with Sean and go traveling with my kids and Anne Marie. So that's sort of the second part, is be around for my kids as adults and maybe someday grandkids. So that's the second part of my why. So the third part of my why is I don't want to fall into this, and I was falling into this sort of old man syndrome. Jeff Dosa Dad's video yesterday, he talked about don't let the old man in, right? I know Clint Eastwood says that, and others do too, but I was kind of letting the old man in, and I see it in the older, the 60 plus crowd all around me. Frankly, I see it a lot in our community here. I see particularly, I don't have a lot of older women friends, so I see it mainly in the male community. They just give up and screw it, I'm done retiring. No one can tell me how to dress. No one can tell me to get my hair cut. No one can tell me to shave. No one can tell me to look good. And so we end up kind of giving up. We eat whatever we want. We drink whatever we want. We grow crazy beards. Our hair gets out of control, and we get fatter and fatter and more incapable as the years goes on. I don't want to participate in that. I am not telling you what to do. I'm telling you, this is my third plank in my why platform, and that is I don't want to fall into old man syndrome. Mentally, physically, how I eat, how I drink, how I study, how I view world situations. I don't want to be the, get off my lawn guy. And part of that's physical. So I still shave every day. I get haircuts regularly. I got one coming up tomorrow. I've probably dropped 40, 50 pounds in the last 6 months. Anyway, I don't want to go quietly into that good night, right? I want to fight the aging process. Now, it'll win. I'll eventually die of old age. But can I push it off 10 years? Can I push off becoming an unhealthy, frail old man? Can I push that off 10 or 20 years? I believe the answer is yes. I believe that is something we have the power to change by what we do, by what we put into our mouths. And that is the third part of why I'm doing this. So the fourth reason is I'm just tired of being fat. You know, we say, we cover that word up with, I'm too heavy, I'm too large, I'm overweight. And the bottom line is I was fat. And I was tired of being fat. I was tired of being one of the fat guys in the room. I was tired of being the fattest guy in the room. I just grew tired of that. Just socially, I got tired of being fat and one of the big dudes. And, you know, I don't like, and my nickname for a while has been, hey, Big Dave. And that's not what I wanted to be. So maybe that's vain. I don't really know, but that's the fourth part of it. I don't want to be fat anymore. So there you go. So the other thing, at 60, I've always thought of my life as a sort of a football game, quarters. You know, and I'm now at 60, 61, I'm now 1 year into the fourth quarter of my life. This is birth to 20, 21 to 40, 41 to 60, 61 to 80 is my fourth quarter. And if I make 80 at 81 years old, I'm in overtime. And, you know, I don't know at what point I become arrogant thinking I'll make it to 80, 85, 90. At some point, you know, I don't know how realistic that is. But I've entered the fourth quarter of my life, and I need to behave accordingly. So I was tired of being big and tall, you know, when I went to buy clothes. At a 44-inch waist and a 3XL shirt, sweatshirts, coat size, that really restricted. I couldn't go into a store and buy clothes. A lot of the things I wanted to buy, even online, weren't available and big and tall. I just got tired of that. And so that fatigue of being a big guy, big and tall guy, 44-inch waist, 3XL for everything, I just got tired of that. And I got tired of, you know, not being able to nice vest or a nice fleece. I just got tired of that. So that's kind of another set of reasons. So let's see. I guess that's really it for that one. And I think the last piece is my blood pressure had gotten not high, but had gotten elevated. So my doctor had put me on a daily. And I've been taking this daily blood pressure pill for a couple of years now. And I hate meds. I don't like taking aspirin. I try not to take cold medicine. Luckily, I haven't had a cold in 5 or 6 years. But here's a guy that hates meds, and I'm taking it daily. So I want to come off of that because almost every American, I mean, it's some huge number, 75% or more, is taking it daily now. And I don't want to be any part of that. So I believe I already walked myself off of the need for it, but I'm continuing to take it for a while. We'll see how the next few months go, see if I can get some more pounds off me, get another size down out of me. But at some point, I'll go back to the doctor and say, I'd like you to evaluate my blood pressure and let me know. The thing that scared me was, over the last 5 or 6 years since I've been going to my doctor, he said, hey, Dave, the only way, the best way to take care of blood pressure naturally is to lose weight. And so he said something crazy to me. He said, every extra pound we carry on us is something like 200 miles of blood vessels, the little capillaries. And it's just the sheer load of all those extra blood vessels on our body when we're 50 pounds overweight or 100 pounds overweight that it really caused our heart to work harder than it should. And so these are not minor issues, right? Your heart working too hard 24 hours a day for me, for the last 20 years, that is not good. And then having high blood pressure sustained over time puts us at huge elevated risks for strokes or aneurysms. Not interested in any of those words in my life. So that's the last piece, is just blood pressure management, general health management, and get rid of that. The only daily I take, I want that out of my life, and I want elevated risk for heart damage or stroke or aneurysm. I want that out of my life. So that's the last piece of my why. Okay, guys, we're at 16 minutes, so these are I just know these are getting too long. And I know you're saying, well, what'd you do? Tell me how you did it. Tell me what you did. Tell me what you did. And that is part of the problem. If you want to go down this road, you've got to slow down and you've got to be patient. All right. My next video will start my process. All right. So episode 1 was sort of the underlying assumptions on it. Episode 2, this one is my why. And I think episode 3, I'll kind of walk you through how I got started. All right. But I implore you, don't skip this step. You know, in fact, I prefer you go back and redo step 1, which is you do some research on the science, watch some of the channels I put up as reference material, find some more that you prefer, do your own research so you understand the basis upon this journey you're thinking about beginning. But I really implore you not to skip the why step. Why are you doing this? And I'm going to further implore that you do not dabble. You know, you're going to put your toe in the water and see if this thing is worth it. I would ask you to avoid that behavior if at all possible. Do your why, and is it strong enough for you to make the decision to get your head in the game? Because your head is what's going to control how you react to what your body does. When you get that sugar craving, that soda craving, when you get that desire to eat something out of cycle, you know, are you going to be able to control that with your head, control that with your thinking, control that with your why? Can we override this basic reptile brain of ours, the monkey brain, as your body kind of fights you for a while on these changes? So please, maybe rewatch this video, understand my whys, and then write your own. Guys, that's it. That's the end of episode 2. Hope this is helping somebody out there. This is the end of episode 2. We'll move on to my first steps as I entered the process back in May and early June on the next one. See you on the next video, guys. Bye now.